And greetings, Ranger fans! And a happy Hanukkah! It's welcome to another Database Rangers Power Reviews review, where I'm taking a look at my old episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews and doing live commentary on these classic episodes, giving you guys some insight into what went into making the series. This one is one that's a lot of fun because it is the Halloween special, or the very first Halloween special. And I see we already have a few people in the chat. Good evening, Jenny. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome, everybody. Greetings, Devious. Happy Hanukkah. Thank you very much. I'll be lighting up the candles after this. I am going to probably be running into a few little issues from a technical standpoint on this one, just because, unfortunately, the charger on my camera, after all these years, has started to give up the ghost. So, we may hear a little bit of beeping every now and again, and I'm just going to need to poke it into not dying, which is, fun. That's a fun time. I've had this camera for a very long time at this point, so I'm moving myself ever so slowly, ever so slightly, closer to that camera that I'm going to have to reach out to tap. And you know what? You're getting a little bit more of an insight into DR Productions' little studio here. You can see I've got my little diode charge collection up above, which is nice and out of the way for whenever I have to move things around. Greetings to 38 weeks. Yes, that is correct. We are at 38 weeks. MJ is expecting pretty much any time now. Anytime in these next 2 weeks, we may be forced to run off and tend to the arrival of the next new member of our family. So, keeping our fingers crossed. We've been working to try and get everything prepped. I just did like a bunch of furniture moving around of stuff today, so the classic Power Reviews couch is actually sitting right next to me right now, not properly arranged, but I'm hoping to make use of it at least one last time in terms of filming. So, yes, I am going to, again, apologize for the little beeping you'll occasionally get. I am getting that charger replaced. It's been a slowly increasing problem, and at this point today, it just kind of gave up on me. So, I see we've got plenty of people coming in, and one thing that I kind of wanted to do to kind of add a little bit of a routine to this process is I want to address some questions in the comments. So if you have questions that don't get answered through the chat, or if you're watching this later, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and I'll try and answer them the next time that we do our live commentary. I see that Sean asked last time when he wasn't able to make it to see the live show, if Power Rangers never came back with Samurai, would I still have done this series? And that is a good question, because I don't really know. I don't think that it would have been structured in the same way that it was, with the trying to review a show from week to week. Whether it would have come through in another form, entirely possible, but I mean, one of the big things was that when I was, one of the big things that inspired me to do Power Reviews was Linkara's Atop the Fourth Wall in History of Power Rangers, which is not something I was familiar with until Power Morphicon of 2010. And one of the big things with Power Morphicon of 2010 was that we knew that Power Rangers was going to be coming back, and we had everything happening with that the Power Rangers Samurai had been announced and everything. So I don't know what Power Morphicon 2010 would have been like without Power Rangers Samurai. I don't know whether I would have been inspired in the same way. It's really sort of that for want of a nail kind of situation, where you have no idea how the timeline may have diverged in that regard. But speaking of wacky diverging timelines, and a camera who is constantly going to be reminding me of its sad existence. I think that it might be time for us to kick off the 4th episode of Power Reviews. This one was a little bit of a non-standard episode in a number of regards. It is one of the shorter episodes, but I'm looking forward to covering it. It was one of my favorite early episodes. Oh, I don't want that falling asleep either. So, if everybody's ready, let's dive into the 4th episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we cover the Power Rangers Samurai Halloween Special, Party Monsters. And let's get this going. Ready? And go.
Previously on Power Reviews.
And this was back when the narrator had a little bit more that he could say other than just, well, last time on Power Reviews.
Something unexpected.
I may have an extra little treat for you guys.
And of course the whole gag with the Wii ended up being way more than just a little horror joke. But it is very funny that was how it started.
Greetings, Ranger fans, and
oh, and this was when I had just started encoding with Handbrake, which is what I use for encoding all my videos now. But I hadn't figured out the settings yet, so there were little issues with
That's not even remotely true.
Okay, but I still went all over the town.
No, you didn't.
Throughout the neighborhood.
No.
for Database Ranger.
I went trick-or-treating next door.
And here is the big introduction of Guy!
No.
Dave is such a wonderful, wonderful individual. That was a wonderful introduction to his character, and I loved it so much. And an interesting note that you'll see as far as the labeling on his door was it said Y. And that was that initial foreshadowing that he was Agent Y was his designation. Just a cheesy little thing that I decided to do to set it separate to our thing. And no, we're not auto-powering off. There we go. This was also just such a fun, fresh of it was such a breath of fresh air for Samurai, which had really been struggling through that first season in a lot of regards. And this one, it was actually amusing. There we go. And of course, you know, obviously my costume is the earliest bits of foreshadowing to my true identity. And
so they do. Kicks off.
And there were a number of reasons I wanted to cover this episode. One was that it was one of my favorite Samurai episodes. It was a lot of fun.
That's what creatively bankrupt writers do.
Oh, and I wanted to do...
Always works so well, Pat. Well, at least
of course, for my 4th ever episode, I decided to do a clip show. So I just have those little random clips from past episodes, even though I'd only had a few episodes so far. And I'm not gonna lie, I ripped that off from Clerks. If anyone ever saw the Clerks animated series, they did a clip show for their 2nd episode, and it was ridiculous. And I was totally ripping them off in that with that idea. And
meanwhile, the party is still going strong with Redhead.
And this seemed like a good opportunity to cover a lot of different elements of Power Rangers Samurai. You know, we got to do all these clips of what all the different challenges that the Rangers had gone through. Gave me a really good opportunity to just sort of breeze through the series that I wasn't going to be able to spend a lot of episodes on. You see, it's just really a big recap of the first season of Samurai. But the other thing was, again, as we're slowly establishing in these early episodes, I wanted to demonstrate how the show that I was making was structured in a similar way to Power Rangers. So, That's the main reason that year one was going to be a 40-episode year, was because I wanted to try and do a 40-episode season in a year, just like Power Rangers used to do, to prove to myself that I could. And I wanted to do holiday specials, because that was what Power Rangers had started doing on an annual basis, starting with Samurai. So I wanted to have a Halloween special, and I wanted to have a Christmas special. Because I like holiday specials. I think, not necessarily that I think they're always well done, but I do like themed episodes. I think they're fun. They're a little departure of what we normally do. And it is a little bit of a shame that these have all been structured as clip shows. And this was just this was a fun clip show. I really did enjoy it.
Whoa!
And here again, I'm using a clip of a previous episode.
No, seriously, I can't believe they used that clip again.
Which is just a lot of fun. And I'm just double checking here.
I would be scared too.
And yes, as Mayo as MJ is pointing out in the chat, Dr. K was dressed as a monarch butterfly specifically to reference Dr. K's Escape from Alphabet Soup. Her connection to butterflies always seemed very strong there. So I thought that it would be a really good. We both thought it would be a great idea. I believe it was MJ's idea to do the monarch butterfly. They happen to have a. Oh, and this was me playing around even more with the clip show premise by actually showing a clip from the next episode that I hadn't finished filming yet.
That's your costume?
And here I'm even doing a clip from 30 seconds in the future.
That Mooger stole my costume.
Symptom. Delusions of conspiracy.
At this point, the monsters realize how lame they are for being scared.
I really like how well these clips of the first 5 episodes of Power Reviews integrated into the script here. And there were a few.
Thank you for sharing, Toledo.
Oh, and there it goes again.
Desperado, your turn.
I get dizzy just thinking about it.
And so it goes.
This also was leaning into sort of some of my early ideas with Power Reviews, where I was initially planning for there to be more characters leaking through from the Power Rangers universe. So this did leave some small plot holes in Power Reviews as a result.
I know!
The whole thing of
The series hates the auto industry.
the series hates the auto industry. The idea that different characters from the Power Rangers universe would be leaking into our world of Power Reviews was sort of set up with me saying that the Mooger stole my costume. I had the joke a little later that I sold a bunch of knives to Toledo. And I will admit, those ideas ended up just having to sort of fall by the wayside. As much as there were a lot of different things that I wanted to. Oh man, I forgot how many gags I just crammed into this episode. 1-800 blown up. I forgot how many like little jokes and gags I used to squeeze into Power Reviews before it became so plot heavy.
And with that last bit of highbrow comedy, the Furry Warts wish everyone a happy Halloween. And that's the end of our episode.
And there we go.
What did I think of it? Well, to be
also,
honest, the scariest thing
I was totally adjusting that Phantom of the Opera mask between every take because it was only held on by my glasses. I'm just checking on the chat as well.
This is the only episode of Power Rangers with no new footage of the Rangers themselves. And for that reason alone,
Yeah.
it's original. Again, considering it's a clip show.
Yeah, I had such mixed feelings on terms of my enjoyment of this episode because oh man, and that was again I know I mentioned earlier that I was having the issues with handbrake encoding, And one of the issues, if you don't put it on a constant frame rate and you accidentally put it on a variable frame rate, so it exported out of Premiere fine, but then when I encoded it to upload, I would get these glitches. And with those glitches, any single frame that I held that was supposed to last for a little while ended up getting it ended up only lasting one frame, and then whatever came next was just frozen. And it was just an awful, awful glitch that I really hate that I didn't realize before I uploaded the episode, but it was part of just that process of trying to get something out in a week. And this one was actually even faster than most, because I released this one on a Wednesday instead of a Saturday to squeeze in between the two other episodes. This was one of the last episodes that I actually edited together before I managed to secure a 9-to-5 job. I was still a knife salesman at this time. And I wasn't doing much business at that time. I was just sort of trying to find something creative to get myself going again. And so I threw myself right into this.
Until then, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.
And there we go, the fade out of the first time that you see Phantom Ranger turning invisible on Power Reviews. And there it was. The first ever Halloween special. The 4th episode of Power Reviews. And the only episode that was also kind of a clip show, just because I decided to play around with that concept, which was a lot of fun. I'll adjust this back. So again, like I said, I apologize for the issues with the camera. I will have the power cord replaced by next week, but I didn't want things to run late to this. So I'm just double checking to see if any questions in the chat that I may have missed. Let's see. So yeah, as far as I know, the Cam Watanabe and Mia Watanabe last name coincidence is just a coincidence, as far as I know. But yeah. Hey, Chris, and hey to Scott and whoever else has joined us in the meantime that I didn't say hello to earlier. But yeah, you can see how much I set up with this episode, with the Phantom of the Opera costume, going invisible at the end, introducing Guy as a character in a very quick cameo, and also playing with the idea of the structure of the show by making it a clip show, even though it was the 4th episode. Playing around with the idea that I was directly interacting with the Power Rangers universe. Although I suppose when it comes to those early episodes, we can just kind of brush it off as Database being a little bit weird and not quite having settled into his reality. And yeah, I still feel bad about some of the technical issues with these early episodes. Like that one bit where there are several bits in there where like a frame goes by and you miss something because of an encoding error. So, you know, I did do that cough Dragon Knight, and if you freeze frame it right there, you will see that I just flashed a frame of Dragon Knight. I did have quite a few issues with Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. I know it has achieved a little bit more of a cult status in more recent years. But I really did back then just harp on the show, especially for having 3 different clip shows in a 40-episode season, which, considering what Power Rangers has done since, I guess isn't actually that bad. Like, there's been a lot of stuff that Power Rangers has done since Dragon Knight that makes me look more charitably upon it. And I think one of the biggest issues with Dragon Knight was it was running contemporaneously with Power Rangers RPM, which was just such a phenomenal season. And if it were to be compared to something like Samurai or Megaforce, I think would have been received much more warmly. So just checking in. Any questions from the chat as far as this early Halloween episode? Like I said, it was a very short episode. I did put it together in a short amount of time. It was designed to be sort of a bonus episode. It was structured as a clip show. And so I did use it as sort of a Trojan horse for a lot of foreshadowing, for that reason, where I just really wanted to have fun with it. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Apparently Jenny enjoyed Dragon Knight. I'm glad to hear that. I will admit, I did not vibe with it very well at the time. And it did kind of ward me off of Kamen Rider for a time. I tried giving Kamen Rider Kuga a chance not long after, and unfortunately it was... I wasn't able to finish watching it. I had a lot of things going on trying to get work, fresh out of college, and it was a very slow-paced series. But I have come to appreciate a lot of elements that went into Kamen Rider Kuga and a lot of other elements of Kamen Rider. I've been watching the most recent seasons as they've been coming out sporadically. I catch up on batches of episodes at a time, so I think I'm only one episode behind on Kamen Rider Saber right now. No, Devious, you have not yet missed the part where DB met Mayo in the laundry room. That one actually doesn't kick in until episode 14. As big a part of the series as Mayo has become, that character didn't get introduced until the 14th episode. And even then, it was only a very quick cameo where you didn't even get to see her face, because I didn't want her to be fully visible as being also played by Marissa, by MJ, at that time, because I wanted to hold back for the story to actually start kicking off around episode 20. The first 19 episodes of the show, I really wanted to focus on developing the rules of the show, as far as the, okay, here we introduce the episode, here's our review, here's our conclusion, and the dynamics between Database Ranger and Dr. K. It really is a two-person show for those first 19 episodes, with very brief little appearances by the rest of the main cast. And it's really interesting looking back at this very formulaic nature of the show, but it was all part of setting up that false sense of expectation for what the show was going to be. And I wanted to maintain that for a while, so that those expectations could then be subverted. And also so we could develop, running gags and bits of foreshadowing, because I wanted to put all the seeds for the solutions to the mystery in place before the mystery was presented. So that if anyone actually wanted to try and solve the mystery, they were going to have to look at earlier episodes in order to figure it out. While later episodes would seed clues for the solutions to future mysteries. As you would see, it would take, a good number of episodes before I even broached the idea that Database Ranger had a secret past or any sort of amnesia, because the character isn't even aware of it. He's just very in the moment and enjoying being a Power Rangers reviewer. As much as we have these little bits of the running gags of Dr. K constantly psychoanalyzing him. And yes, I know I need to get the rider log for Kamen Rider Build done. I don't know when. I know I will at some point, because I have seen about a dozen different Kamen Rider series now, and I think that build is still my favorite, so I would love to do a video about it. It's just a matter of finding time. We're not doing live reactions anymore. I'm struggling to get work done where I can on power reviews. We're obviously preparing for the birth of our first child, and I've been trying and make time to volunteer for the runoff races in Georgia. And if you're not volunteering already, you really should. It is very important that people's voices are heard in this runoff election, because it will decide the Senate. So if you get the opportunity to volunteer, I absolutely recommend it. You can call on behalf of your favorite candidates, research them, reach out, you can donate. Those are all great things to do. And yeah, it is good that I do like that Power Reviews wasn't just a one-man show. It was sort of presented that way a little bit with how briefly Dr. K was in there, but Dr. K was a pretty consistent part of the show. And then we make it up to episode 8, where I really push forth Dr. K as more of a co-star and less of a supporting character. But we'll see that as we get to it. Now, as far as other things going on with the channel, I have been working on episode 91. It is coming along. One of the very nice things about episode 91 is that it is not effects heavy. There's a good variety of shots, so there's still plenty to edit, but the effects are very limited. I don't have the heavy green screen effects of 89 and 90, or the wacky CG demon children of 88, or the total head trip of 87. It is going to be a little bit more, a little bit less effects heavy and more, but still very character driven. There are some great character moments that are coming up in the next episode of Power Reviews, episode 91, that I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing. There's a specific moment that I've been wanting to do for years, and I'm so glad that we finally managed to capture it. It's gonna get emotional. It's crazy to think that Power Reviews is no longer. It has started off as such a sort of wacky, jokey show, and it still has the good humor, or at least I like to think that it does. But we've really pushed the drama and the emotion over these more recent episodes. So all that being said, I do believe that we are about time for us to wrap up. I see that there is a little bit of an issue with frame rate, so probably a good time for me to be trailing off here. Actually, I think I know what might be causing the problem. I'm gonna try. Maybe that might do something. I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully. Hopefully I did something to fix the frame rate. Not sure. So, all that said, I hope that everyone has a very happy Hanukkah. As much as this was covering a Halloween episode, I'm going to go light my menorah now. I haven't had time yet because it's been a very busy day. And although I realize I haven't been doing it so far, because these aren't the live reactions that we're used to, I do feel like we should start including our non-controversial statements again. So I didn't cover it at the beginning, so I'll say it now. Remember, everybody, 3 things we should consider non-controversial: Black Lives Matter, fascism is bad, and superheroes are fun. And to wrap it up, our other 3 non-controversial phrases: love is love, trans rights are human rights, And robots are cool. Especially if they're synth-organic biomechanoids. So, all that said, thank you again. If you have questions you would like for me to answer next time, please list them in the comments below. And until then, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you. Happy Hanukkah to all.